11.
Earlier tonight, Governor Healey delivered her second State of the Commonwealth address. Welcome to Western Mass News at 11. I'm Abby Carnevale. Western Mass News reporter Addie Patterson joins us live in studio with the governor's remarks. Addie, what did she have to say?
Abby, Governor Healey reflected not only on her administration's accomplishments during her address, but she pledged her commitment to fixing transportation, making homes more affordable, and investing in education for 2025.
This is a moment to know our past, to understand our present, and to build our future.
On Thursday, Massachusetts Governor Healey held her second State of the Commonwealth address. During her remarks, the governor reflected on some of the largest changes her administration has brought to the table, one change being the passing of the state's largest housing bill in history.
This year, with the Affordable Homes Act, we're going to get shovels in the ground and people in homes. So far, already, more than 116 towns have said yes to more homes near transit through the MBTA Communities Act. That means thousands of new homes are already in the pipeline.
Governor Healey pledging to continue upgrading transportation and infrastructure throughout the Bay State, allocating $8 billion to do so, and specifically pointing to the I-391 viaduct in Chicopee. She's promising residents that her next submitted budget will prioritize efficiency, action, and impact for the Commonwealth.
What I can say now to drivers, to riders, to taxpayers is that the money you invest will get you results.
And with residents voting to get rid of the MCAS graduation requirement back in November, Governor Healey says her team is dedicated in upholding the Commonwealth's high standard for quality education.
I'm directing a statewide graduation requirement council that will include teachers, colleges, employers, and students to develop recommendations for a permanent high standard.
In response, the Massachusetts Teachers Association issuing a statement reading in part, "We are encouraged by Governor Healey's announcement that Massachusetts will have a public process for shaping a shared vision and educating and supporting our students and ensuring every student is benefiting from our state's high academic standards."
We passed the HERO Act. It's the biggest veterans legislation in state history. Thank you.
The governor assuring residents on Thursday that her administration will continue putting those who serve our country first and will not let any veteran in the state go without their basic needs.
That legislation, it's expanding health benefits, job opportunities, and so much more. We're ending veteran homelessness once and for all, because no one who served our country should ever be left behind in their time of need.
Governor Healey also addressing the unprecedented demand for the state's emergency assistance family shelters. During her speech, the governor says her administration will phase out hotel shelters this year.
In 2025, we'll get families out of hotels for good. We're going to continue to keep working with the legislature to reform this system.
Governor Healey opened and closed her address today with a nod to Massachusetts' revolutionary history ahead of the 250th anniversary of our nation's founding. She urged residents to come together, confront our state's challenges in unity. For now, reporting live in studio, Addie Patterson for Western Mass News.